those of you who've been following me for a while, who've been subscribed to my channel for longer than a week, let's say, and have watched a sampling of my videos already know this, but I'm just going to say it again. I am more focused on the mental health of our children, even than their academics. I care a lot about what they are learning in terms of basic skills and knowledge. Do not get me wrong, but it is just a close second to their mental health and happiness. I've said repeatedly on this channel that our job as parents is to raise happy, well-adjusted, healthy individuals. When you do that, the knowledge part, the learning part, if you're surrounding your child with actual love, not just love bombing, not just entitlement, not just spoiling with everything they want, like they can do no wrong, but the kind of love that includes discipline, teaching of values and real virtue, and personal responsibility, self-respect, self-love, those kinds of things. You'll have to get out of their way. They're going to be so eager to learn. They're going to understand self-ownership so much that it's just going to come naturally. Have you ever watched little bitty kids? They want to learn really bad. They want to learn their alphabet. They want to learn numbers. They want to learn things. I'm not saying it's automatic, and I'm not saying you're not going to have to do things or help them along and, show the way and even do some drills from time to time. I'm simply saying that focusing on basic skills is a close second to mental health. And as such, I am so eager to get more parents to get their kids away from the government schools, away from schooling as it's currently done right now in America, because even some of the private schools, you have to be super vigilant, guys. Charter schools, private schools, nothing's a panacea just because it's not government school, but government school for sure because of the conflict of interest, but increasingly because they draw from the same teacher training programs, that is, from all schooling that you don't oversee and have a transparent window into. Get them out. And I'm about to show you two examples why I say that. One I'm assuming is private, but I don't know for sure because it's a preschool. I'm going to play this short TikTok video from a preschool teacher. I want you to take note of the fact that she is teaching 2-year-olds. 2. They may or may not be fully potty trained at this point. They may or may not be speaking fluently. They surely don't read unless they're savants. And they probably are still in a mode of needing to sit on someone's lap and cry when they get a boo-boo and things like that. Okay? They still probably go to sleep with a stuffed animal or a blankie. I want you to keep that in your mind and consider what I said about my priorities. And you tell me if this is somebody you want around your kids. Bear in mind, it's the second week of school for some people, first week of school for others. But this is what people were saying. Please reopen the schools. We got to get our kids back to school. They need to be in school. When you hear this teacher. Here we go.
Story time. This has been my first year in preschool with a class of my own, teaching alongside another queer neurodivergent educator, and we have been rocking our Choose class. We've been talking about gender and skin color and consent and empathy and our bodies and autonomy. It's been fabulous. But our teaching team is shifting and a new person is being onboarded, someone with many years of experience. So today at the lunch table, when the topic of gender and genitals came up, one of our students plainly looked up and said, "Well, I'm a girl today, but I know that teacher Co isn't." No, they're NB. And the look on the incoming teacher's face was priceless. She was shocked in a good way, and she just looked around at the two of us and said, "This class is incredible, and I am so impressed."
Okay, so there you have it. There you have our charming preschool teacher of 2-year-olds. Please understand, I am a very open-minded, very tolerant person. I say tolerant intentionally. I used to not like that word because it sounded sort of insulting, like people don't want to just be tolerated. But I think we've gone from tolerance, which basically means you're doing something that is not the norm, or you're living in a way that is not the norm, is outside the norm. And I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to try to fight you. I'm not going to oppose you, get in your way, or in any way try to harm you or, control you. You do you. To me, that's tolerance. Then there was a push for a while towards acceptance. You need to accept this. You need to accept that I'm like tolerance wasn't enough. We had to be like, yes, I accept you. I validate your existence. Okay, yes, I accept you. And acceptance would include like, we're equals. You're just as normal as somebody who is, cis or hetero or whatever. You're just, I accept it. Okay, so when we got there, and there were some decent arguments for that. We have gone way past that at lightning speed to championing the not norm. And I'll just tell y'all right now in my audience, I'm not going there. I was never willing to go there. I'm not going there now. And I'm not supporting taking kids there. I'm not even supporting kids accepting everything that is not the norm. I think tolerance is appropriate. I think teaching children to live and let live and to understand that not everyone's going to be like them and they can never know what it's like to walk in another person's shoes, and they should, focus on their own things and not comparing themselves to others. I think that is worthy. I think teaching children they might be just like people who are outside the norm, or more to the point, they should be, making it like it's great, it's awesome, it's desirable, is child abuse, especially when you're dealing with, this kills me. She wants to talk about consent and bodies and genitals with 2-year-olds. I can almost guarantee not a single parent in that school gave consent for this kind of lesson. And if they did, shame on them. Shame on them for confusing these small children. First of all, most parents, at least by the age of 2, have in some way communicated to their child that they are, not might be, are a boy or a girl. They've been given a name. They've been treated as if they were that gender. And I don't mean, with gender norms or wearing pink or whatever. Just, this is my daughter. This is my son. Kids pay attention to things like that. They have a little burgeoning identity even then as to who they are. And if they have a sister or a brother, this is how we talk. These are the words we use. It is a teeny tiny minority within a minority of people who are telling their babies, I don't know, tell me what your gender is a very tiny, outside the norm. So this teacher is teaching children about consent while disregarding the consent of their parents, coming between them and their parents, damaging the trust bond between them and their parents, setting the parents up to be effectively rejecting their children if they try to correct this kind of misinformation. And it is misinformation. And it's abominable. It's abominable. It is child abuse. And I do not think she's unique. I do not think it's unique either to this person or this preschool or preschool period. I think this is going to be going on in classrooms all over this country. And if you think it's not, if you assume it's not, but you can't verify, assume it is for the sake of your child's mental health. But moving right along, that's for 2-year-olds. Now let's just go take a gander at what's going on in an entire district. I'm sorry, not district. Just, I guess it's a district, New York City. It's pretty huge. Hard to call it a district because it's so massive, but be that as it may. Corey DeAngelis reports today a New York City public school teacher started a petition demanding mandatory vaccinations for everyone over 12 years old, mandatory masking, weekly COVID-19 testing, at least 3 feet distancing, remote learning option, no assessment of learning loss. No assessment to find out where the kids are when they walk into the school academically. And that would be enough all by itself. Like all by itself. And remember, I said at the outset, I was more concerned about their mental health, but that does go to mental health too. You know why? Because kids will be coming into whatever grade they're assigned based on their age, their chronological age, and where they were assigned last year. But without any assessment, as far as their learning loss, they'll have to cover the material that's assigned for that grade. What do you think happens to a child psychologically when that is a bridge too far? What do you think goes through their mind about themselves, about their ability to succeed, about whether school is worthwhile, about their future? Nothing good. It's not good for their mental health. And that's true whether, even if they have the test, they're at risk. Even if they test that, unless there's an intervention that takes into account that none of this was their fault. None of this was their doing. And that, sort of validates that and lets them go at their pace, which of course can't happen in a standardized setting like school, where you have this standardized basic education. It goes on. It says, failure to implement these demands will result in a coalition of educators and parents urging UFT members, UFT is the union, families and students to stay out of buildings deemed unfit until they are safe for teaching and learning. The buildings are unfit. Their own members are not required to get vaccinated, just so you know. Just so you know. And they're calling it safety now or safety walkouts. They're calling it a safety walkout. Let's look at what Daniel Alicia, I don't know how he pronounces his name, also is included. And more to the point, I want you to see that he's not unique. There are other people in this thread. Thankfully, there are some who oppose this, but there are other people in this thread who think it's great. So, of course, Corey is doing an admirable job of fighting back. And if there's my comment. And here's what somebody says down here. Agreed. We need a safety walkout. But shouldn't that be to stop the physical attendance of tens of hundreds of thousands? This is a teacher. Tens of hundreds of thousands of unvaccinated children. Teacher. Masking, adult vaccination, and working ventilation are not enough to stop sickness and death. I hope this person isn't planning to leave their house. Actually, probably not planning to leave that to stop sickness and death. These people are not in risk groups. And if they are, they should get vaccinated. And if they are vaccinated, then their likelihood, we're told it's a selling point of the thing, is their likelihood of getting super sick or needing hospitalization is dramatically reduced. I believe it's reduced by like 90+%. Doesn't prevent you from transmitting it, doesn't prevent you from getting it, but your chances of getting so sick that you would need to be hospitalized, never mind die, are dramatically reduced. That is literally the selling point for getting it. But it's not enough. Adult vaccination, not enough to stop sickness and death. Does this sound like a person concerned about the kids? I don't think so, because they're also demanding the no learning loss screenings, diagnostics, and focus on SEL and trauma-informed supports. They want to spend the entire school day doing group therapy, which you all know, of course, is indoctrination, like what that other teacher I just showed you is doing. They think their charge is to go back into school and as quickly as possible get inside these kids' heads and manipulate the living daylights out of them. So rather than learning any basic skills or knowledge, they will be turned into the kind of people they want them to be. What? Before midterm elections? What's their end goal? Or they're in a big hurry to get this brainwashing done. They want to focus on SEL and trauma-informed supports. There'll be no academic screening diagnostic assessments for so-called deficit of learning and learning loss. So-called? It's well documented. So-called? Ask a parent. Ask a parent how their kids are doing. Ask a parent how their kids are feeling about how they're doing or are likely to do this year. Ask a kid. So-called. They want counseling and social work. Look at this. Counseling. Rather, we must focus resources on the social emotional well-being of our students by funding after-school programs, PSA, so they can keep them there longer, PSAL, counseling, social service, and weekend programs. They want to monopolize your kids' time 24/7. Pretty soon, we think they should just sleep here. They should just sleep here. But we don't want to feed them because that's dangerous. It might spread disease. We desire a pause and require high-stakes state standardized testing until performance-based alternatives are explored. Performance-based? What's the difference? What's the difference? High stakes for whom? It's not high stakes for the kid. It's high stakes for the school because funding is tied to it. But it's not for the kid. The kids don't get punished. They don't even get held back. They do poorly in these tests. It backs up on the teachers and it backs up on the school. That's why they don't want it. Doesn't hurt the kid except psychologically. but they're not really concerned about their psychology. They want to mask them. They want to terrify them. They want them getting vaccines they don't need. And they want to tell them that there's no such thing as learning loss when we know what reality is. So they want to teach our kids, whether it's about gender or learning, that reality is not a thing anymore, guys. Reality is just not real. Don't believe your lying eyes. And then let's see, there's some more. Signed and shared. Thanks for doing this. What about no eating indoors? Keep eating outside of school. I signed it and shared. They're advocating for not eating indoors. They don't want to do their jobs. 40% of their membership is unvaccinated. And then the same person started, as the Delta variant spreads. The Delta variant is basically a bad cold, even in the unvaccinated, unless you're in a risk group, obese, diabetic, or old. These are teachers. I'm very concerned about math instruction and science instruction when these are teachers. It spreads in hospitals, hospitalizes more children. With RSV, you mean? We need a remote option for school this fall. Well, parents don't want it, and they're their children. Are you really concerned about the children and their health? Because the parents aren't. If the parents were, they'd already have pulled their kids. So if the parents are not already making arrangements for the kids to not have to go to school because of the Delta variant or to get vaccinated because they're afraid of the Delta variant, it is not your job to concern yourself with that. You don't concern yourself with how the kid's getting to school. Is it on a dangerous motor vehicle? Are they walking on city streets where they might get grabbed? Are they walking holding the hand of someone who is not their parent? Maybe who's high? Do you care about that? No, I'm pretty sure you don't. But you're concerned about something that's basically a bad cold. Kids are well equipped to fight this off. And if they're sick, maybe don't punish the parents for keeping them home. Maybe don't demand sick notes signed by doctors that are expensive, because you got to go pay that copay to get the doctor note. So maybe change the school rules so that it's easier for the parent to keep the kid home and the kid has a sniffle. They don't have to jump through 17 hoops of fire with the properly signed doctor note to make sure the kid isn't truant. You're not going to show up at the door and punish the parent because they didn't show up at the school. Then you won't have so much sickness coming to the school. But no. These are people trying to hide behind the children and blame parents for their laziness and not wanting to work. But you can't fire them, guys. You cannot fire them. First of all, you can't fire these teachers because they're UFT. When teachers have been shown to be abusive, like hardcore abusive, they still don't get fired. They put them in this holding pen. I can't remember what they call it. There is a room where these teachers go because they can't be fired. They have contracts, and they literally pay out their contracts, and they sit in a room and play on their phones. I think John Stossel did a report on it once upon a time. It is one of the hardest things to do, is to fire a New York City public school teacher. You pretty much have to murder someone. Yeah. So if you're thinking that this is anything other than abuse, anything other than theft, well, I can't really help you. This video isn't for you. But this is New York City. And so I know some people are going to sit there and say, well, that's New York City, Deb. It's not going to be like that anywhere else. Really? It may not get to this level with these kinds of petitions and so forth, but I can guarantee you, in pretty much every school district in this nation right now, certainly city or even suburban school districts, you have teachers who don't want to be there, who don't want to be doing their jobs, and that's going to come out in their attitude and their teaching with your kids. There are going to be teachers getting annoyed about mask mandates not being enforced. I've already seen people writing about it from Florida. They're trying to do the same thing of, oh my God, cases. There are already kids in isolation or lockdown or whatever, not lockdown, but isolation and quarantine because of exposure in the Tampa Bay area to someone who had COVID. We don't even know if the kids are sick. So if the abuse isn't enough for you to make a plan to get your kids out now and just figure out the academics second, because having a kid who's dealing with this level of chaos is going to fuel other kinds of problems, it's going to impede their learning. You're not going to have learning going on in these environments with these stressed out, neurotic adults. And those are the decent ones. Those are the ones who don't actually overtly hate children and just want to get paid to not do their jobs. Okay. But if that's not enough, what about just the scheduling chaos? If you use the schools for your childcare, and let's be open about it, we know many of you do. I know it's not something everyone wants to talk about, but it's real. Let's get open about it. If this is your childcare because it's free, what are you really paying? Are you paying with your child's mental health? Are you paying with your own mental health? How stressful is it to wonder every day whether your kid's going to be sent home with a note that says they can't come back for 14 days because there was somebody diagnosed in the school, in the class, they were exposed. Now you have to be home with your kid for 14 days. Do you have a plan for that? Do you have a backup plan? Because if you have a backup plan, you can have a backup plan for the whole year. And they will get a better academic education, and they will be shielded from this kind of neurosis and abuse. And people who have no interest in teaching basic skills or knowledge and are much more intent on this social emotional learning and gender studies and all that. They're doing that with 2-year-olds. What do you think they're doing with 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, etc. year olds? I hate to be so negative. And you don't know me from a hole in the wall. So you're probably thinking, why should I believe you and that you care about my kid, a total stranger to you, more than these people? So all I'm going to say is go by the evidence, judge by the evidence. I'm trying to offer you supports and I'm trying to offer you alternatives for you to make choices about your children. I'm trying to protect you and your kids. They are trying to protect their jobs. That's it. And they don't actually care about your kids. The evidence is there. Watch their feet and listen to what they say. Now, that's all I have to say today, at least this morning. I hope you find some of it helpful. And I also hope you'll consider joining my locals community so I can help you more directly with your walkaway plans. I'll do whatever I can, and I will also point you to some other people who can help as well. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I make a new video. That's the video.